All right, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm going to leave my mask on just because I'm close to Sergeant Velez here. My name is Sergeant Silva. I am the president for the 37th Training Wing Diversity and Inclusion Council. Here today, we're doing a storyteller event. But before we get started, I just want to make sure that everybody's aware. You can find our information directly on our Facebook page. It is on Facebook at 37 TRW Diversity Inclusion. If you look it up, you should be able to find us pretty quickly. All our information is on there, so if there's anybody interested in contacting us and trying to use some information, look to us to be part of your unit's events, anything that you feel like would benefit you or your unit or your organizations, please by all means contact us and we'll be happy to help in any way. All right, so today we're starting, we have a storyteller. As you can see, we have Master Sergeant Alejandro Velez. He hails from Miami, Florida, but he was raised mostly in Colombia, South America. He's gonna tell you a story, and the reason we bring this storyteller event is because we know how important that diversity and our own experiences can bring to our organizations. It helps us learn who our people are, what they've been through, and that is a powerful tool that leaders can use in order to be able to use the people that have learned their talents and be able to get that experience out there so that we can connect with our own people. Storytellers is a tool that's used in many companies and for good reason. It's very powerful. You can use slideshows all day, but that's not going to connect people. You can try to get reason to change people's behaviors, but that doesn't do much. Storytelling, however, has been used and has been proven scientifically, both at Harvard Business Law and as well through Forbes. They've done a study on storytelling events, and the connection that it brings people together is a way of pulling at your heartstrings. And the reason that works is because you are able to connect with another person and be able to relate. When you can relate, then you start to be able to get on a level with that individual instead of looking at them as people with uniforms or just as another number at your work center. So we want to be able to give as many opportunities for storytelling. This won't be the last one. And we're hoping that those of you out there that are interested in sharing your story are willing to find us and be able to ask us if you can share your story. We want to hear as many of your stories as possible and get it out there so that not only your organizations know who you are, but hopefully we can pull people that have related stories to be able to connect with what you're saying and maybe help them discover something that they didn't think was possible. So without further ado, I have Sergeant Alejandro Velez again. He's gonna tell your story, and if anybody has questions, we ask that you go ahead and submit them through the chat application here on Zoom, and we will make sure he gets them. And at the end, we'll do a little bit of Q&A.
Thank you, appreciate it. So this is one? Okay, so the first thing I want to say is, I want to give you a thank you to be completely honest with you. I love telling stories. That's basically how I relate to people. And honestly, it's been, that's how I've been successful at my jobs. My previous job was as a PME instructor. And I was more successful telling story and relating with my anecdotes than actually reading from a book. So the first thing I want to say is I want to tell you a little bit about my background, where I grew up and how I came up. I never really had a vocation to be in the military. To be honest with you, I didn't really know about the United States. I was born in Miami, Florida, but when I was a baby, I was taken back to Colombia. My parents are Colombia. I grew up in Medellin. For you guys that maybe are familiar with the TV show Narcos, that's basically how my life was for the first 20 years. For my first 20 years. I grew up as a spoiled kid. I had everything that I wanted. I thought that I was living a normal life because to me that was just normal, having, drivers and having, like chauffeurs and having maids and living in a mansion and things like that. I thought that was normal life to me. When I was 10 years old, my father died, and He was my hero. It was hard to understand what had happened. I tried to continue my life, but I was seeing a lot of things that I couldn't understand. Like, for example, his like best friends would come to my house and they would threaten my mom, and to actually ask for properties, for horses, for apartments, for money. And as a 10-year-old kid, it's hard to understand that. You really don't know what's going on. One day these guys are like your best friends, and and bring you gifts, and the next day they're taking everything away from you. I got over it, and I tried to continue a normal life. But what actually really got me was the fact that when I was growing, 11, 12 years old, a lot of my friends were rejecting me, and I never understood why. What was happening that my friends just didn't want to be my friends anymore? And one day I asked, "Hey, what's happening? How come you don't want to be my friend?" And my best friend actually told me, the reason that I don't want to be I can't be your friend is because my parents are prohibiting me to actually be close to your family. I can't go to your house because of who your father was. And I never understood. What do you mean who my father was? I thought he was a successful guy from Medellin, Colombia, that he was good with money, good with people, very good leader. That's why I thought that my father was. But I realized with this kid telling me that my father was actually part of the Medellin cartel and was associated with Pablo Escobar. I never understood it, and it was hard to digest, because growing up, I was seeing how kidnaps would happen in my school, how the bombs basically happening in schools, in malls, next to churches, planes, and I didn't associate with my father. I thought he was a very good person, and this guy was telling me that he was actually part of that. So my defensive mechanism was, okay, I don't want to be like that. But in a way, I was rejected so much that inside I was like, okay, if they think I'm bad, or if they think my father was bad, I'm going to be even worse. And I didn't realize that I was affecting the person that I loved the most in my life, who was my mother. And she was suffering from depression since he died, because of everything that she had to deal with. And I didn't realize it, that I was becoming just like him. I was just becoming a version of my father, who I actually hated at that time. And at 16, I left my house, and I decided to go to the streets, and and live and be a bad person. That's what I wanted to be. Honestly, if you asked me 20 years ago, I would say that I want to be in the mafia. I want to be the baddest person from Colombia. That's all I really saw. That was my environment to me, and I was affecting my mother. I was surrounded by the wrong people, bad influences, and it got to my head, because I felt like I was important. Like, I actually thought that I was a big deal, which I wasn't. I was only 17 years old. But because I was making money and I was good at leadership, I had a leadership skill that I had, but it wasn't being utilized in a positive way. I thought that I could do anything I wanted. So I decided that the people that I was working with and making business and making money with, I thought I was better than them. My ego got me, and honestly, I thought I was smarter than them, I was better than them, and I could, take a little bit more money without people realizing it. And I started doing that. And I was living well. At 16, 17, I already had my own apartment, brand new BMW, had everything I wanted, alcohol, old vices, women, you name it. And honestly, that's the life that I wanted. But what happened is that life has something different planned for me. God is what I want to call it. I like to call it God. He gave me a wake-up call. And what happened was that one day my sister called me, and she said, Alejandro, I need your help. My mother is doing really bad. She doesn't recognize anybody. She doesn't know who I am. She lost her conscience. She's acting crazy. I need you to come here and help us out. So, it's my mother, the person that I love the most. I had to do something. So I decided to go back to my house. And when I saw my mother, she started calling me by my father's name. She started calling me, hey, Rafael, I knew you were not dead. You know, I knew you were here. You know, I know everybody was telling me that you died and you didn't, you're here. And that got me really, really frustrated and really upset. Because like I said, I hated him at that time. And I was trying to tell him that I'm not him. I'm Alejandro. I'm better than him. You know, you're freaking crazy. And what I was doing without knowing is I was making matters even worse. I was complicating the situation, and my sister was seeing, and I was screaming at my mother, and she was saying, Alejandro, you actually destroyed this family. What you see right now, the way my mother is acting is because of you. You destroyed the family, and get out of here, please, because you need to leave now. You need to get out of here. And I was immature. You know, I got a lot of big ego, and I didn't get it. I called them crazy, both of them. I say you both are crazy. You know, I'm better than you. You know, I even said things like, you know, I think she's better dead. You know, which I didn't mean, but things that are really, really hurtful. So I destroyed my family in a way. To be honest with you, I have to be real, and I affected my mother to a point that she really never recovered. That and the fact of what I was telling you about my father. So I got back to my apartment, and that same day I got a phone call, and it was one of my friends that I was working with, and he called me and he said, you know what, we already know what you're doing, and if you don't want to die like a dog, I need you to meet me at this restaurant at this time. And I've been there before. I know what happens in that location. I know what happened at that time. I know what they do. And I was desperate because in my mind I was like, man, I messed this up. You know, I'm destroying my family and I destroyed my life at the same time. What do I do? The only thing that came to my mind was I'm going to grab all the money that I have and ask for forgiveness and give them all the money that I have to see if they give me an opportunity to, you know, forgive my life. And that's the only plan I have. I really didn't have anything else. It's just the motivation of basically saving my life. That's what it is. And I went to a restaurant. I remember like if it was yesterday. It was a bunch of my friends, like old friends. And there was another person that I really didn't recognize. And he was an older guy that didn't recognize, but apparently he knew who I was. So when I got there, exactly what I thought it was going to happen, it was happening. They were going to make an example out of me, and no matter that I was giving them all the money that I stole from them. So I stole a lot of money plus everything that I had saved. That was just not good enough anymore. They needed to make an example, and in Colombia around that time, that's how it was. And when I was basically getting ready to die because they had a gun pointing to my head, the older guy that I just didn't know who it was, he said, you know what? I used to know your father. And your father was a legit guy. And your father, you know, he had a word. He was a real man, not like you. But I also know your mother, and I liked her. So I know Maria. My mother, her name was Maria de Carmen. And so he said, hey, I know your mother, I know Maria. And I'm going to do something just because of her, not because of you. But I'm going to forgive your life. We're not going to kill you. But I am going to tell you what, if I see you in any place in Colombia, any city, it doesn't matter, and I got eyes everywhere, if I see you again, I will kill your mom. And I like her. Imagine what I will do to you. And right away, it was my wake-up call. I needed to do something, but I didn't know what. I was being exiled from the only country that I knew, and because honestly, I was born, like I said, I was born in the United States, but I really didn't know the United States. I had previously been went to Miami like twice and Disney World. That was it. I just didn't really know anything. So I knew one thing was for sure. I needed to leave the country, but I didn't know where. So I didn't have a plan. I had a lot of motivation to change my life, but not sustained effort. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have really a goal, just saving my life. I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't tell my family what I was doing because I didn't want to put them on risk. So I decided to sell the car that I had. That was the only thing that I had that was worth anything. All the money I had given away to these people, and I decided to go to Miami. At that moment, 20 years ago, maybe still now, United States is the land of opportunity. But the way they would sell it in places like Colombia was like, the only thing you got to do is just go there and they will receive you with money. They'll just give you money and it's super easy. Just once you get there, you're set. And in a way, I believed it. I believed it a little bit, and I thought it was going to be easy. And my only plan at that moment was to go to a friend's house. I had this friend, his name was David or David, and he used to live in Miami Beach. He was the son of one of my one of the people that used to work for my father. So we kind of grew up together. He was older than me, and I told him about the situation. He said, "Don't worry about it. Just come to Miami. Hey, I'm doing great here. I'm the king of Miami, and I can hook you up. Just come by here, and I'll take care of the rest." So that was my plan. I sold my car, got about $9,800, something like that. That was about we're talking about 20 years ago, 2001. That was the only plan I had. I got to Miami, and with thinking about changing my life. I just wanted to change my life inside, because I was 19 years old. I was still innocent. I was thinking that the day that I would make my mother proud for the first time, then everything will go back to normal, and I will be able to get my family back, and everything will go back to normal. And that's what I want to do. I just want to change my life, come to the United States, and be a good person. That's the plan. And when I got to his house, I realized I know what he was doing. He was managing some warehouses for some Colombian product. He was doing really good, really good. An apartment like you see in the movies, crystal everywhere, the beach in front of you, two brand new. He had a Maserati and a BMW, brand new. His life was one day I actually wanted. That's what I actually wanted. And when I saw that, temptation got me, and I completely forgot about wanting to change my life and coming back to Colombia one day and making my mother proud. I forgot about that stuff. Honestly, I just got tempted, and I wanted that, and I started doing the same thing that I was doing in Colombia. And the problem with that is that when you're spending your own money, you don't have no income coming. It goes really fast, especially the type of life that I was doing. Going to clubs all night, every night, drinking every night, different women. I was wasting all my money. And 2 months later, he comes to me and he said, "Hey, you know what? So let's go to Mango's. Hey, there's this club, Mango's in Miami. Let's go tonight." And I was like, "Oh, sure, yeah, no problem." And I don't know if if this had happened to you before, where you go to you're looking for something and there's not, like I was looking in my the backpack that I brought from Colombia with some clothes, because that's the only thing I had. And when you actually go inside and there's no money, but you keep looking, that was basically what was happening to me. I knew that I wasted all the money, but I didn't accept it. So I was looking and I was like, "Man, no, I gotta have some money. There's gotta be something. I brought almost $10,000, man. There's gotta be something." But I had wasted everything. I didn't have nothing to show for it. Just the same clothes that I brought, with the same backpack, and nothing else. So I went to talk to my friend, and I said, "Hey, man, to be honest with you, I don't have no money. I'm out of money, and I just can't go out." And he grabbed like a stack like this big, and he said, "Money's never an issue. Is that the problem? You think that's a problem? Here you go, man. Take this money. I've been telling you, work with me, and you can have everything you want." He really had a vision for me as a leader. He had the vision that we could become the kings of Miami in some way, and he wanted me to be part of that. But to some extent, I kind of knew that was not the route that I wanted. So I was with him, but I was not really doing anything. I wasn't doing any work. So I asked him, "Hey, David, I need to get a job. I need to work as a waiter or as a valet parking." Because those are the jobs that I was imagining that I could get. I didn't speak the language. So I was thinking about that stuff, and he looked at me, and he got offended. And he said, "What do you mean? You asking me for a job when I've been telling you for the past 2 months to work with me? You asking me to be a waiter? You want to be the guy that cleans my dishes? You want to be the guy that actually drives parts of my car? That's what you're telling me? Telling me to my face. When I'm offering you, the opportunity of your life, and you spit it to my face. And I try to explain, no, that's not what I meant, man. I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. I just want to change my life. You know how my mother is doing in Colombia, she lost her memory. She doesn't know who I am. I need to get back. I need to make her proud. You know how my father ended. And in that type of life, if you disagree, people will feel disrespected. And that's basically what happened at that moment. He felt that I was going to tell on him or to get him in trouble, and he saw me as the enemy. And he said, you know what, you got two choices. And like, what do you mean, man? I'm your friend. No. You get two choices. Number one, you're either with me. Number two, you're against me. And if you're against me, you got 5 minutes to leave my apartment. And if you don't leave, you know what's going to happen. And this guy was, armed all the time, drugged all the time. So I know it was going to get bad if I stayed. So I grabbed my backpack. $265 was what I had left, nothing else. And I decided to just go to the streets and try to survive. Once again, no plan. I didn't really have a plan. So I ended up in a place called Hialeah. I was walking the streets, and I was staying in a hostel that was charging me $35. It was a Cuban place. And so I was doing that at night, and I was staying at a library during the day because it was the only place I could thought that I was thinking that, people don't really, they don't really think about you. They just leave, let you be, and you can stay there all day, and there's no issues. And so I stayed in the library during the day, and I went at night to the hostel, and the rest of the money I was spending on food. But once again, I wasn't making any money, so money was going away. And about 2 weeks later, I had to decide between either paying a place to stay or paying for food. And I decided food. And I decided, I can stay, I can sleep somewhere else, but I need to eat. So I was eating the dollar menu from McDonald's. That still existed back then, that existed back in the day. And I decided to sleep in bathrooms, or not sleep at all. When I was sleeping in the 7-Eleven bathrooms that I was just going to, and just lock myself inside and try to sleep, sitting down. And it was hard, but it was not hard because, poor me, I don't have nothing to eat. I came from, I'm poor, or I'm broke, or I'm homeless. The hardest part was knowing that I didn't have to go through this situation. While I was going through this, I didn't have a place to stay, I didn't have a roof, I didn't have food, I didn't have anything. My sister was going to the best university in Colombia, the best. And she had 2 mates at home, and she had a brand new car. And I couldn't understand why I was in this place and she was in a different, complete situation. And I realized that I couldn't say, hey, God, you know what, stop the game. I understood now. I get the lesson. Please let me go ahead and start over again. I couldn't do that. I realized that life was going to teach me a humbling lesson, and I was going to go for the long run. And I couldn't stop it now. It was too late to actually change my mind or to make any changes. And every action has a consequence. And I had to deal with it. So I tried to survive until I just didn't have any money left. And the only thing that I had was $10. And I saved those $10 to get a calling card back then, phone calling card that I was going to use as my last resort. I was just, when I didn't have any place to stay, any place to go, any money, I was going to call this. I was going to buy this calling card and call my family and ask for money to go back. And if I go back to Colombia, I go back. And if I die, I die. But at least I will die in a place that I was familiar with. I die in my home, because the truth is, to that point, I really didn't have any love for the United States. I really didn't care. To me, it was actually the enemy. I was in a place that I didn't like. I didn't want to be here, but I didn't have more choices, And sometimes in life, the less choices you have, the more action you take. And that's what that's what life put me against the wall, and I had to move forward. And so I was going to call I was going to call my house. I was going to buy that calling card. So I went to the same 7-Eleven, the same place that I slept that night, where I tried to sleep that night. I went in and I was looking for the phone card. And all of a sudden, I feel something inside me that was telling me, don't do it yet. Don't, just wait. Something's going to happen. I know you guys have felt that before, but like there's something inside that tells you something's going to happen, but you don't know what. And I looked through the window and I saw a church, Catholic church, and I grew up Catholic. I believe in God. No, I'm not the most practitioner, I'm not the best person, but I needed to talk to somebody. I needed to vent. I needed to talk to somebody. And I decided not to buy the card. So I didn't buy the card, and I went to the church, and exactly on the moment that I got to the church, they were doing confessions. It was like the time for confessions, and there were people making lines, and I decided to make the line. And when it was my turn, I wasn't going to confess anything. I was just more like I needed to vent. I needed to talk, and so I started talking a lot, and I talked until the priest actually got out of the confessionary, and I was speaking Spanish. So I don't know. I didn't know English, so there's no other option. So he got out and he spoke Spanish, and he said, "Hey, what's happening? Are you trying to? Do you need to talk to you, or you really going? Do you want to confess, or you just need to talk?" And I said, "Sir, Father, I need to talk to somebody. I'm about to make a bad decision, and I didn't know. I don't have more choices. I'm about to probably make a mistake." And he said, "Don't do nothing yet. Go ahead and wait. I'm gonna go and finish the confessions, and as soon as I finish, we can talk." So yeah, okay, so no problem. And he finished the confessions. He got out, and we started talking. And I was telling him everything. When I mean everything, is everything, every single thing I did in my life. But I was victimizing myself. I was in that story. I was a good guy. I was saying, look how God did this to me, and I was a good person, and I came to the United States, changed my life, and I wanted to do this for my family. I wanted to do this, for my mother, make her proud of me. And he stopped me and he said, "Hold on 1 second. So who is the person that, knowing what happened to your father, decided to do the same thing? Was it you or was God?" So it was me. Okay. Who was the person that promised that was going to change their life and decided to come to the United States to change their life, make your mother proud, but instead decided to do the same thing you were doing back home? Was that God or was it you? It was me. Who actually wasted all the money that you actually brought to change your life? Was that God? No, it wasn't God. It was me. So I was finally realizing that I needed to accept the responsibility, that it was not God, it was me. It was my actions were getting me in the situation that I was. So he said, "You know what, I'm willing to help you out. I'm willing to help you, but just don't make any decisions right now. I have a room," he said, at that time he said, "a room in the church house. And you can stay there for a couple of weeks, and I can help you out. You can help me out fixing the church and painting and doing things like that, and I can give you the necessary to live, basic food and things like that." And in Colombia, there's a saying that la necesidad tiene cara de perro. Basically, necessity has a dog face, and I just didn't have any more options. So I said, "Hey, sure, sir, I'm ready. Yeah, let's go." So I was taking a room, a regular room. And when I got in, it was actually a storage room. It was a place, there's a little storage room where you put, the mops and the cleaning products and everything like that. And he said, "Hey, we can remove everything from here, and we can put a mattress on the floor. And, are you okay with that?" What other option do I have? I said, "Yeah, yes, sir, I'm okay with that." And I closed the door. There was no windows. Of course, there was no TV, no nothing. It was just a mattress, my backpack, and myself. And the roof was like this high, so I had to stand like this. And I kept crying like a little kid. And I was a tough guy back home. I was the big deal. I was the guy that people wanted to be like me. Girls wanted to be like with me. But I was crying, and I was praying to God, and I was praying and cursing, and I was very frustrated. I was depressed, and I didn't I didn't understand the depression. I promised myself that I would never be depressed because I saw how my mother ended. And like, no, fuck depression. I'm not going to end it like that. And but I was, and I was very frustrated. And I was trying to help out the church because they were paying me, with all the money from the church was actually they were giving me to live. I was living with that money, and it didn't feel right because I was really not providing any help. I wasn't doing anything positive, and I was trying to clean, I was trying to paint, but I wasn't used to anything. And I told the father, like, sir, I don't know how to do anything. If you teach me how to paint or how to do any, labor work, I can help you out. But I was horrible. I wasn't used to it, and it was just not my thing. So I was making it worse, and I was feeling worse because here it is, I'm living out of the money that the church is giving me, and I'm actually destroying the church because it was getting worse. The painting and everything like that is even even worse. So when you're depressed and you got so much pressure, so much stress, weeks become like basically days become like weeks, and weeks feel like months. And it was only 2 weeks, but I was so frustrated that I just couldn't handle it anymore. So I decided to talk to the priest, and I said, sir, you know what? I just decided I'm going to go back home. I'm going to call my family. I'm going to ask for some money, and I'm going to face whatever I have left. Forget about it. And he looked at me. He said, no, don't do that yet. I think there's an option for you. And he said, have you ever thought about being in the military? And man, I never, like me in the military? No, forget about that. No, I'm not. I wasn't born for that. And I said, can I curse you? I don't even know, but I said, fuck that. I'm sorry. Forget about that. I'm actually the opposite. What do you mean the opposite? It's a long story. So he said, no, look, there's a lady that actually comes to church, and her son is in the army, and he lives pretty well. He has his own house. He makes good money. Went to school. Once again, necessity. I just didn't have more options. And in life, the less options you have, the more action you take. And I said, okay, I'm willing to give it a try. He said, okay, I'll take you to. It was a place called Hollywood in Miami. And he was a shopping mall, and he said, I'm going to take you to the shopping mall. There's the recruiter's office, and you decide which one do you want to go. And honestly, I didn't know anything about it. I saw there was the Army, the Navy, the Marines, and the Air Force. And the reason that I went with the Air Force was because I thought the planes were kind of cool, because it was like a big picture in the door, and I was like, man, that's exactly what I want. That's what I want to do. And he looked at me and said, okay, if that's what you want, let's go for it. The only thing that I'm not able to stay with you right now. So he actually took me, but he had to go to an appointment. So he gave me some instructions. Like, man, this is what Alejandro, this is what you have to do. Just go with your folder. I had a folder with all my paperwork saying that I was American, because nobody would believe me. If I sounded the way I sound right now for 20 years, imagine how I sounded before. So I had this little folder with my passport and my social security number and everything like that. And he said, just go ahead and take this go to the office and look for the most Hispanic looking person you can find. And we're this Miami, so it wasn't hard. So I went in and started looking for the most Hispanic guy. And there was a Garcia. I knew this guy spoke Spanish. And I said, hey, Garcia, I know you won't believe me, but I'm an American citizen, is there any way you can help me out? And he stopped me like, what? No, you sound Colombian, man. You're not American. And no, I get, I grew up in Colombia, but I'm American. Look at my paper. And I showed him the paper, and he started looking at it like, this is not real. This is real, man. It's real. This is legit. And I was speaking Spanish, of course. And he said, like, okay, let's say this is real. So how can I help you? And I said, I want to be in the Air Force. I didn't know what the Air Force was, but I want to be in the Air Force. And he said, you want to be in the Air Force? Okay. The only thing is that you need to pass a test. You need to take the ASVAB and pass that. You speak any English? I said, no, I didn't speak any English. And flashes went through my head, when I was back in school, and my mother would say, hey, she was paying for the best schools. And you're like, you need to learn English because this is important to you. And I would say like this, I would say, English for what? I'm never going to the United States. If I go to Miami, to Los Angeles, and I don't need to speak any English over there. man, I was wrong. I was really, really wrong. And that kept flashing. And like, you don't speak any English? Like, no, I don't speak any English. Okay, no problem. As long as you pass the ASVAB, they will teach you basic training. Okay. If you say that, I mean, you're the recruiter. So, but like, so he showed me. So I asked what was the ASVAB. He showed me a book this big, and I looked at the book, and he said, hey, take about 6 months, go ahead and study it, and when you're ready, come back. He was thinking I had choices. It was not as easy as like 6 months. When he said 6 months, I was like, man, 6 months, where am I going to stay for 6 months? And I said, sir, I don't have that option. Even if it was 2 years, I will still not understand what he says. Now I'm looking at the book, and I was like, man, I was thinking maybe I can relate some words, and I didn't understand anything. And I said, sir, I can be 2 years starting this thing, and it will be the same. He was like, okay, so what do you want to do? If you let me take the test without studying, I can go ahead and do that. Okay, let's do that. When will you be ready? Like, I can take it right now or tomorrow. Okay, come back tomorrow. We'll go to a MEPS office and you'll take the test and see what happens. So I went to a church that the father priest gave me a bunch of like little stamps and crucifixes and crosses and holy water. I was armed, those were my weapons. And I went in and I was logged in a computer, and I was thinking inside of me, like, man, there's gotta be those words that between Spanish and English are similar. Like, there's gotta be something. And the truth is that I was kicked out of 7 different schools in Colombia. And the way I graduated was through something similar to a GED, which I basically did the last 3 years in 6 months, just taking a test. And I was ABCD. I was very good at that, because that's the only thing I did for like months. ABCD. So when I got put on the computer, like, man, this is my thing. But then I started reading, and I was like, didn't understand nothing. I'm like, man, is this really English? What the hell is this? And I keep passing, and I was guessing. I was throwing a coin. I was, doing this like a million times. People were looking at me like I was crazy, and I was pouring the holy water on top of me, and it was like, oh God, please. And I remember there was one thing that the father said to me, the priest said to me before when I told him about taking the test, and he said, don't worry about it, Alejandro, God's going to make a miracle. And when I was sitting that, basically sweating, I was like, God, this is where you make the miracle. This is what the father was talking about. This is right now, and I just didn't know anything. I was guessing. And at the end, I finished the test. And I don't know if you have that feeling where, like, you get out of the test and there's you score a couple of ones that were good. Like, for sure, that they were good. I didn't have not even one that I knew, like, okay, that was correct. Not even one. So I was like, man, there's no chance in hell, So I was humiliated. I felt bad. I went to my recruiter's office. They gave me an envelope, don't open it, give it to him. And he sat down, and there was another 3 guys with him. Johnson, Brown, and Smith, I think is what they were. And he was reading the results to them, and I was listening, and he said, okay, Brown, you didn't score good enough, so I think it's better for you to go to the Army and talk to them. And I was thinking inside, man, if Brown didn't make it, I'm definitely not going to make it. Because these guys were like straight, grew up in the United States, So I told my recruiter, like, hey, man, you know what, forget about it. I'm going to be leaving, I don't want to be humiliated anymore. It's been a long time of humiliations, so I'm good. He said, no, Alejandro, no, wait. Let me finish reading these results, and then we can talk, and maybe there's something we can do. Like, oh man, okay, go ahead. So he finished, and none of these 3 guys actually made it to the Air Force, because my chances were 0. And when he opened the envelope, he looked at my name, Alejandro Velez, and he said, hey, you score a 50. I looked at him like, see, I told you, man, what you got to make me stay here? Like, no, with a 50, we can't get you in with a 50. Like, what? That's pretty low standards. I'm from a 50 is kind of really low. They're like, no, but we can take you. The only thing is that, and he said this words in English, he said, the only thing is that the only job we can give you, the only job is security forces. And I was like, it's what? Forces de seguridad, it's like, and he showed me a video. And it was this guy in the jungle with some motorcycles and some weapons, and like, oh, that's me. That's exactly what I want to do. Like, man, I'm sold. That's what I love. And like, okay, it's good. So how many years are you thinking about signing? And I kept hearing people talk about the 20 year. And And I just didn't know better. So I said, hey, man, you got the 20-year package? No, that's not a thing. It's a 20-year package, man. Either 4 or 6. Like, oh, okay, six, but take me. I was very desperate, man. I didn't know anything about this. So he said, okay, when will you be ready to leave? And I looked at him and I said, you see that backpack next to your door, the office door? And he said, yeah, what about it? And that's the only thing I got in life. So if you want to take me right now, I'm ready to go right now. I said, no, I can't take you right now, but what about next week? I'm ready, let's do it. So, I went back to the church. I talked to the priest. I thank him. I thank him for the miracle. And like, man, it did really work. It was actually a miracle. But I was concerned. I was worried. I was concerned. I said, man, what gets me worried is that this is the United States Air Force, man. The recruiter keeps telling me that they will teach me English there, but I don't know. I'm not that dumb, And so I'm worried that that everything's going to be English and I won't be able to make it. Like, don't worry about Alejandro. God's going to make another miracle. Like, okay, God, you're hearing him, So I didn't have once again. I didn't have more choices. So he said, just do this. Talk to your recruiter again when you go and get your ticket and when you're ready, and ask him for some advice. Ask him for some tips. Okay, I'm going to do that. So it was basically a week went by. He actually helped me out buying all the necessities of the shampoo, soap, and everything that I needed. Some clothes and some stuff with the church money. Honestly, it was with church money. So I appreciated that. I went to see the recruiter again, and I told him that I was worried. I said, man, Sergeant Garcia, I know you're telling me that I didn't need to, and that they will teach me, but are they really going to teach me English, sir? You don't trust me? You don't trust me? I'm the recruiter, man. I'm telling you, they will teach you English over there. Don't worry about it. So can you give me some advice on what should I do? It's easy, man. Have you ever been in an airplane before? Like, yeah, that's how I got here. And we're like, okay, well, easy. It's your ticket right here. You go from the airport from Miami to San Antonio. Once you get out of the plane in San Antonio, you're going to start seeing a lot of kids like your age, kind of confused and nervous and looking to the roof. And when you see them, you know that so far you're good. Okay, I can do that. So I got on the plane, got to the airport, and I started seeing a lot of people like me. And I was like, man, they're more scared than I am. Yeah, I'm good. So far, good. And then he said, after that, there's going to be an instructor that is going to show up to the airport and it's going to start yelling. And you're not going to understand anything. You really won't understand it. But just do everything everybody's doing. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. So the instructor came. He was huge instructor, huge military guy. I was, the type of guy that I would see in movies, like, I don't know, Schwarzenegger, things like that. And I was growing up. Those are the clothes that I could get to, like military stuff. And so he started saying, make a line. And I saw people forming a line. So I made the line. I got my backpack right here and I just made the line. And he started screaming some things and I really didn't understand until he said something about bus. Bus, I said bus, boost. I know that one, that's okay. So get in the bus. So I got in the bus and my recruiter would tell me, so you get in the bus and don't say anything, just stay quiet. And they're going to take you to the base, to the Lackland Air Force Base. Okay. Got it. Okay. And so, and it's going to be, once you get to Lackland, it's going to be easy after that. After that is downhill. Okay, you say so. So, I got in the bus. I stayed quiet. I was packed with my holy, holy water, everything again. And the instructor was saying something about if you have something in your pockets, you got to get rid of them. He was talking about pornographic, material, but I didn't understand. To me, it was like, okay, anything in your pockets. Was like, you got it. I'm sorry, forgive me for this, but I'm gonna have to leave everything here. So I'll put it right there in the bench. I put all the holy water on top of me. So I looked like I was just took a shower. And we got out of here at 3:20. I think it's the squadron. And we got here. I got out of the bus, and I looked back, and I feel bad. It looked like an altar. Like you could actually probably do a mass on that thing. And I got out, and I saw people kind of like standing like this, and a bunch of instructors, screaming and yelling, and everybody in position of attention. But man, I didn't understand what that means. Especially if you scream at it, it's even worse. I didn't understand. So I looked like like I was completely lost, like the Three Stooges kind of thing. I was with my backpack doing this, you know, while people were like standing attention. So I looked really confused. And right away, 3 instructors jumped at me and started screaming, "What are you doing, clown? Are you crazy?" Yeah, this and that. I'm like, okay, what should I do now? Okay. The only thing that I could say at that moment was the truth. No English, no English, no English. I don't speak no English. You guys teach me English. That's the only thing that would come out of my mouth at this moment. And they finally realized that it was actually real. It was true. I wasn't making it up. So they went back and they called a Mexican American instructor to talk to me. And he spoke to me in Spanish and he said, "Hey, Velez, if this is a joke, you got to stop it because it's not funny anymore. You know, what's going on?" But I said, it's not a joke. I just don't speak any English. So what are you doing here? "Sir, my recruiter told me that you were going to teach me English." Like, me? No, not you, but somebody here was going to teach me English. What? So you don't speak a word of English? No, sir, but I'm willing to learn. You know, I want to be in the Air Force. And he was like, "Please help me." And he looked at me and said, how can I help you? I don't even know what to do with you. I've never seen this before. A guy that went through all the filters and everything like that and passed everything and don't speak a word of English. I wouldn't know what to do with you. So I think he went back to talk to his supervisor or somebody. Then he came back with a document that I will never forget. It's a paper. And he looked at me, he said, "Hey, Velez, there's 3 choices, but I would recommend the number 1. "Yeah, sure, sir. Whatever you say, I'm ready to do it." And he said, "Look, you're a mistake in the Air Force. And the Air Force doesn't make mistakes." And this was 20 years ago when diversity and inclusion was not really a positive thing. This was when being different was actually a negative thing. They will see you as a failure, you know, because I was coming from a different country. You know, I was not going to do anything positive for the Air Force. I was a mistake. And they told me straight up, "You're a mistake. You shouldn't be here. You don't deserve to be here." And the only thing I could say back is, "Teach me. You know, please. I'm willing to learn. Give me an opportunity. You know, please." Because in the back of my mind, I knew that I didn't have no options. It was either making it work or going back home and dying. I didn't have no choices. And so I said, "Sir, what is number 2 choice?" And he said, "Well, the second choice is you go back to a 6-month, take a 6-month course, an English course, and whenever you feel ready, then we can try it again." But, you know, 6-month course, how do I pay it? Where do I stay? That was not an option. "Sir, you said 3 options. What is the 3rd option?" He said, "Third option, I don't recommend it, Velez. Honestly, I wouldn't, if I was you, I wouldn't do it." And what it is. And he said, "The 3rd choice is making it work. You're gonna have to learn by yourself. Legally, I can't force you out because you made it through all the way here. So unless you sign this document, you know, I can't really force you out, but it's going to be really hard and people are going to bully you and it's going to be difficult and I don't think you can take it. And even after going through all this difficult time and, you know, the bullying and the harassment and everything like that, you're going to waste your time because let's say you even make it the past 6 weeks, you're going to have a test at the end and you're going to fail the test and it's going to be for no reason." But inside of my mind, like there's no choice. I didn't have the option of quitting now. I had to go through, I had to make it work. There's no option. So I was thinking, you know, how hard can it be? Bullying? Come on, man. I grew up in a place where they were kidnapping my friends like nothing. I saw my father die, you know, like how bad can it be, you know? So I said, "Hey, if I can take the 3rd choice, I'd take it." And he looked at me and said, "Okay, this is your funeral." Okay. And I went in, and once I got in, I realized what he was talking about. Because I never felt it was difficult. I had challenges before and many things, but this was something else. Because this was like a negative vibe around the area. People didn't want to be associated with me. I became right away, I became the Chaquito, Juan Valdez, Pablo Escobar, and I couldn't say nothing back. I really just didn't know what to respond. I know it wasn't good, you know, and then the physical part started and it was a little bit hard, but I said, "Man, is this the most difficult part?" This is nothing. And I said, "I can do this, that's no problem." So I decided, how much time do I have? 3 minutes, okay. Is there any way to come back and continue the story?
Yeah, we'll do Q&A.
Okay.
And pick some more questions.
Got it. So I'll try to make it as short as possible. So basically what I had to come up with a plan, because under stress, I had to make it work. I had to graduate. I had to do something. So my second week, they gave us a book, this big, and I had to learn English. And how do I learn English? So the only thing that came into my mind was like, okay, I'm not able to learn a language, but I can memorize words. So what I did, my plan was, when people were sleeping at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, I was going to the latrine, and I was just sitting in the latrines with a flashlight and just memorizing words, and hoping that when I saw the test, I could associate words with this. And that was that was the only possibility I had, nothing else. And like, oh, I can do this. But then, you start it started to get me a little bit. Every week they were approaching me with the same document, to tell me, hey, are you ready to quit? Are you ready to sign? Because I was not, in their eyes, I wasn't making any progress. I was just following what people were doing, and that's it. I wasn't really learning anything, and I know that now. So it was difficult, stress, working out, and then on the third week they actually made it a little bit hard because they wanted to get rid of me, and so we were going to the shop to eat, and I was making the line. They would come up with when it was my turn, they would come up with some questions that they have no clue, and I had to make the line again, and then the same question I couldn't, and at the end they were basically telling me, you know what, you can eat tomorrow. So I was not eating right, at that moment I was just not eating right, and the stress, and just what was getting me, to be honest with you, was the fact that my mother, inside me, I didn't know what happened to my family. I don't know if my mother was alive. I didn't know anything. So it got to the point that I've always been hard, like tough, but it was getting me, and I was ready to quit. So on my third week, basically, I decided to look for that person that was the instructor with the paper, instead of him looking for me. I'm like, no, I'm ready. Forget about this. I hate this. I don't want to be here. And I looked for that guy, and I heard that they were talking about letting us make the first phone call. A phone call, okay, so I'm not going to say anything yet. I'll make the phone call, talk to my family. It has been, at that point, it was like 3 months, or even more. So I need to know what happened to my family. So I'm going to make that phone call because I was thinking if I sign the document, maybe they wouldn't let me make the phone call. So I didn't say anything. I made the line just like everybody else. And I remember asking this guy in charge, like, hey, can I get 5 more minutes? And he was telling me, no, you got 5 minutes. That's it, 5 minutes. And I had my calling card, like, hey, Colombia, it takes longer, Colombia. Because in my mind, I was thinking, only the connection back in that day would take like 3 minutes. And I have to explain everything that had happened during all this time to my family, and even see if my mother was right. And so I made that call, and my sister answered the phone, and I said, Carolina, don't say anything. Please listen to me. Ay, Alejandro, who kidnapped you? How much money they asking? How much money they asking? No, I'm not. I haven't been kidnapped. I'm okay. I'm in the United States. Please let me talk to my mother. Is she okay? Yeah, she's okay. But who kidnapped you? Like, no, don't say anything. I don't have time. Please let me talk to my mother. So my mother comes on the phone. Alejandro, let me talk to the kidnappers right now. Let me talk to them right now. How much money they asking? I'll give anything, whatever it takes. No, mom, just listen, please listen. I haven't kidnapped. I haven't been. This is actually, I never thought I was going to say this, but I'm here because I want to change my life and make you proud. What are you talking about? Where are you? And Mom, I'm in the United States, and I joined the United States Air Force. The what? Oh my God, you're in drugs. Are you drugged? That's what it is. Like, no, I'm not in drugs. I've never been more sober or better before. Like, no, I'm doing this for you, but in all honesty, I'm about to quit. I can't do it anymore. The United States, the Air Force was too big for me. I'm not good enough. And she stopped the conversation. She said, what did you say? That you're not good enough? When you were here, you were basically leading everybody, and everybody will follow you, and you will do whatever the hell you wanted, even if it was negative. And you're telling me that it's going to be too big for you? I don't believe that. Like, no, this time, yeah, I'm going to disappoint you. I want to make you proud so bad. And she said, I've always been proud of you. You just never realized it. And when I heard that, man, it gave me some fuel and some fire. I said, I can do this. I can do this. I'm doing this for you. And I said, and she asked me, hey, so when will I see you again? And I was thinking, man, in 6 years. I really didn't know how it works. Like, it's not for 6 years. So in 6 years, like 6 years, oh my God. And then by the next thing I know, boom, they hang the phone. Like, oh, what happened? I got upset, but I had to control myself. And I went back to my plan. I needed to make it work. I needed to graduate. So I was stronger now in the head. And I said, if I had to deal with this 1 week at a time, I can make this. And in 6 weeks, they give me the test, and I made it by like 1 point. I think it was 65. I passed with 66 or something like that. And I was very proud of myself, man. You don't even know, because I really worked hard for that. And I was becoming, I wasn't that yet, but I was becoming an Air Force airman. I was becoming a member of the United States Air Force. That was huge to me. And the day of the graduation, and he was, I still remember, because it was the same, everything looks very similar still, you know. And it was my birthday. I was that year I was going to be 20, and I was by myself. Everybody was with their families and with their, you know, loved ones. And I kept looking at the instructor. Last name was Martinez, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he had a paper in his hand again. And I'm like, no, I don't think it's that what I think. You know, this maybe I want to be positive. So I was thinking maybe it's just he knows it's my birthday and he just want to congratulate me, or he wants to invite me to his house. I don't know. He just see me all lonely, so he looks at me and I look at him and like, okay, what's happening right now? And he said, hey, Velez, come here. And looked at me and he said, hey, I want to ask you something. You know, we're very impressed with what you did. We didn't think you were going to make it, to be honest with you. Nobody even thought, you know, remotely that you were going to make it. But I want to ask you, how were you able to pass the test? You know, how do you do it? I said, it's a miracle from God. I think, sir, God made a miracle. And he looked at me and he said, okay, so you think it's a miracle? Yeah, sir, I think it's a miracle. Okay, what tech school are you going to? I'm going to security forces. Well, let me tell you, Alejandro Velez, the security forces tech school is 11 weeks, and you're going to have tests every week. So let's say God made a miracle, you know, one time. You think God's going to make 11 miracles? And I didn't have, inside my mind, like I said, I didn't have more option. I said, yes, sir, I think God can make a miracle. And with my help, you know, put in my part, I think I can make this happen. I said, don't do this to yourself. You know, you're going to waste your time. And gave the same speech that he gave me before, and the same paper. And he said to me, look, you know, it's better off if you sign. You already made it this far. You know, not everybody graduates from the basic training in the Air Force. And now I was upset. Honestly, I was upset. I was like, man, you didn't believe me in the first time. I show you, I prove you wrong. I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove you. I need to get some motivation from somewhere, and this was my way. And I said, sir, I can make this. And I said, we don't think that you can make it. And I said, basically, I looked at him to his eyes and I said, are you telling me that I can't go to tech school, or is it an option? He said, no, I can't force you not to go, but I'm recommending you not to go and sign this document that says that you're not capable. And I said, you know what, sir, how many weeks did you say tech school was? He said, 11 weeks. So I looked at him and said, hey, I promise you that in 11 weeks, I will be back here with my certificate, with my diploma, and I will give it to you so you can remember people like me. Because I know I'm not going to be the last one. I may be the first you met in my circumstances, but definitely not going to be the last one. So what I would like to continue, to be honest with you, because it's a longer story and many other things to have to go, but I know we don't have time. So we can stop here, and maybe on next time I continue the story and tell you how I feel that the Air Force saved my life, and why I feel the job that I have right now as the superintendent at the 837 Training Squadron at Ayafa is basically what got me alive. Wanting to come to a job where I belong, being the right person at the right time with the right set of skills and the right attitude. How that actually, saved my life. I really saved my life. So I'd like to continue for next opportunity.
Absolutely. Right. I have questions for you, if you don't mind.
No, definitely.
Yeah, sit and kind of, that was awesome. It's funny, we do these things with the intention of trying to motivate others who might be going through a similar situation. I don't know anybody else that might have gone through just as much of a similar situation as his. That's pretty just moving. So the way your story read when I read it and how you described it is the only thing you hear in the movies. So, however, I know adversity is happens to a lot of people, not only in the military, but just in life. There's a lot of things that people go through. But you know, I talked about connection before, and it was funny because this is my first time meeting you, and I'm listening to your story, and I'm making so many connections just with my own experiences, and listening to your story about how you grew up in Colombia, and my mother's Colombian, and my mother, my grandmother was kidnapped at one point. My mom's cousin at one point was killed because he was part of the party. He wasn't part directly with the cartel, but he dealt drugs. And of course, the drug dealing out there is connected directly to the cartel. So listening to your story, it's crazy to me that I'm sitting in front and right next to someone who's directly part of that life, and knowing how much of an impact that made on my mom's life, and just and it's such a stereotype for Colombians to that we receive. But I wasn't even born there, but because I'm Colombian, you know, I hear the stereotypes, I hear the jokes, I hear the negative, even sometimes racist comments like, "Oh, you're nothing but a coke pusher" and things like that. You know, growing up, you hear those type of things, and so I'm sitting next to you, and I'm like, "Oh my God, you actually did that." And went through that life. It's just fascinating to me. I have no hate towards you or no ill will, because that was something that you were pushed to do growing up. And sometimes you, like you described, you have to pull yourself out of that life in order to be able to get ahead. And I commend you for doing that, for making that choice, and pulling yourself out of such a luxurious life is something probably very difficult that I don't know what that's like, but I can imagine how difficult that decision was to have to do that, knowing that you had everything in your hands and you went down to squalor just to make something out of yourself. So I commend you for that, and I'm proud to know you, and proud to be able to share the story with my mom when I get home. She's, you know, she lives here, and I'm going to be able to share the story, and she's going to love to hear it. So very excited. So I have a couple questions for you. When you were describing the textbook, how the textbook, at what point do you feel within basic training was the moment that changed your trajectory to be able to, after speaking to your mom, that made you feel like you can still keep going to include textbook, knowing that you had 11 weeks to go through? Like, what was it in textbook after you graduated and you heard from, you know, Sergeant Martinez that told you you're not going to be able to do it? What kept pushing you to get past those 11 weeks and be able to pass, like you promised you were going to do?
I'll have to be super honest. Right now, what keeps me going right now is purpose, knowing my purpose. At that moment, I didn't know my purpose, so what was driving me was necessity. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a plan to back up. I had my back against the wall, and I had two choices: either stay there and let life go through me, or take life and control life and make life happen. So it was just the necessity of surviving. It was more surviving mode than anything else.
Did you have anybody text you that was helping you along the way that you used to communicate with that person at all?
What happened during during basic training, most of the people, and I don't blame them, most of the people that probably could speak Spanish just didn't want to be related to me, because at that moment I was a target and they didn't want to be associated, so they thought saw me as a negative thing. So at that moment, no, I didn't have anybody. During tech school, something really special happened, and I honestly, I like to think that it's a miracle that God had for me, and it's that when I failed the test. I failed on the 6th week. I failed the test because what I was doing, it wasn't working anymore. But the memorizing the words and trying to do it in the test, it wasn't working. So I had to quit my operational plan in order for my strategic plan to actually work. So I had to change, my strategy, but I didn't know how. And when I was getting ready to, or the Air Force was getting ready to kick me out because they didn't see any progress, I had to sit down with my flight chief or my instructor, and they said, "Hey, we know you're trying hard, but we're not seeing the progress. So explain us, or tell me why should we give you a second chance?" And I had to call my mother because that was my engine at that moment. I needed to get that energy, that power. And I told her, and the first thing she said is like, "It's because you didn't pray. Did you pray?" Like, no, I prayed.
That's not Catholic guilt.
Yeah.
That is another stuff.
And I pray, but praying is not gonna teach me English. And she said, "This is what you gotta do. You know what your problem is. Your problem is English." And before she said that, she gave me the thing that I didn't want to hear. "I told you, you needed to learn English," and I said, I didn't want to hear that. And she said, "This is what you gotta do. You know what the problem is. Don't focus on the problem. Focus on the solution. Don't try to pretend like nothing happened and just put the trash under the rug and pretend nothing happened. If your problem is English, then learn English." How do I do that? And then she mentioned about a library. Like, okay, go to a library. First of all, ask for a second opportunity. Tell them that if you're going to get basically kicked out of the Air Force, you're going to do it in your own terms. So I explained that, like, you guys don't think that I'm going to graduate, but at least give me the opportunity to get out of my terms, trying the best, the hardest. So they bought that, and they said, "Okay, we'll give you the chance. If you want to do it again, let's do it." And that same day, I went to the library here, the same library that's still here. And when I was looking for programs to learn English, I was asking the librarian, and I was trying to learn English. And in front of me, there was not a mirror, but a frame that was projecting. I was seeing something behind me, and I saw a uniform that was very familiar to me, a military uniform with the Colombian flag. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And I saw a bunch of like soldiers, that from Colombia. And I looked back, and I went running to them, like, "Are you guys from Colombia?" I thought it was like the Virgin Mary disappeared to me. And like, "You from Colombia?" And I got scared, like, yeah, what? Like, I'm from Colombia too. So why are you wearing a uniform? "Well, I'm in the Air Force, but they're gonna kick me out. So, but I mean, why are they gonna kick you out?" Because I still haven't been able to learn English. I don't know the language. Okay. But can you learn? Is there any options? And then they told me something that would change my life. Like, look, we're here at an academy called IAFA, where people from Colombia and from other countries, they come here to learn the most important U.S. Air Force courses, and they teach it to us in Spanish. I'm like, what? Yeah, we're here in the security forces course, and we see the class in Spanish, and maybe that instructor can help you out. And I'm thinking, like, are you serious? You think he will be willing to help me out? Yeah, I think he can teach you. And I didn't even wait. I said, "Can you take me now? Can I go to see him?" And he was a staff sergeant. He was about to put on tech. Was not in my chain of command. Didn't owe me anything. And when I was going to, we went walking to IAFA, where I work now, and they actually talked to him before I actually had a chance to talk to him. And when he saw me, he looked at me. He said, "You don't know it yet, but you're the luckiest person in the Air Force." And I didn't feel too lucky. A lot of people have been telling me that I'm a failure, that I'm a mistake. Yeah. And I look back, like, you talking to me? Yeah. The problem, Velez, is that, and he said Velez, my last name is actually pronounced Velez. And he said, "Velez, the problem is that you're victimizing yourself. And what you see as your greatest weakness, it can become your biggest strength, your biggest asset. But it's going to depend on you. It depends on how hard you're willing to work for it." Right. He had a vision for me that I didn't understand. He even told me something about one day you can go back to Colombia with this military uniform and help out the country that you owe, that wants you growing while supporting, representing the country that gave you a second chance. And that didn't make sense at that moment. Honestly, no. That he was my leader. He had the vision. It was up to me to make it a reality as a follower, but I was not tracking. I wasn't ready. But that guy changed my perspective, and he took the time to teach me for months. Because of him, I was able to graduate tech school. And he taught me when he didn't have to. He told me this. He's like, I'm willing to teach you every day 2 hours of culture, about security forces, and also about the language. But I need you to be here at 5 o'clock every day. And right away, I came up to excuses like, oh, sir, but I get off at this time, and I don't know if I can. Okay, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
How hard are you willing to actually work for this? Because you're already giving me excuses. I don't think you want this. I don't think you want to be an Air Force member with that attitude. I said, no, I'll make it. I'll come running. I'll do whatever it takes. And he looked at me and said, you need to do whatever it takes, because it's not going to be easy for you. But if you make it, if you're willing, it's going to work. It's going to be worth it. And I started going with him, every day for almost 2 months. I was, going with him, and he didn't have to. He had his work, and he was taking the time to actually mentor me. He saw something in me that I didn't see. And when I finally graduated from tech school, and actually because of my clearance, you can only imagine how much.
That was one of my questions.
Especially mine, my clearance takes a long time. So I end up working here at the gates, as security forces. And I kept going to him, and he kept teaching me. And when I got my first assignment before I left, I made him a promise. And I promised him that one day I will come back to Ayafa. I will return to Ayafa. He will probably not be there, but I will come to Ayafa and repay what he did for me. The way he saved my life, I will repay that. And as you can see, it took me 17 years, 17 tries. I applied 17 times for any job at Ayafa. and it happened.
That's amazing.
I'm sorry, I went too long.
No, it's okay. That's awesome. So have you remained in contact with them throughout your career?
For the first 10 years, and then unfortunately I lost contact on him. So I've been trying to get back to find his information, but unfortunately not anymore. But what I try to do is I see his face on everybody that goes to the academy and has situations like me. So unfortunately not with him in particular, but very similar cases that were just kind of like me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Have you found yourself in a situation trying to help somebody, not like you're at Ayafa, trying to help somebody that had similar, where they didn't speak English and you are like, get back? Have you found yourself in a situation, whether it's for just a day or over time, that you were able to do the same for someone else?
Yeah, that most definitely, especially because this kind of story, I tell my story to a lot of people. Yeah. I try to relate to a lot of people. So a lot of people in Ayafa and in DLI, they know about me. They know about how I came. And I'm not, honestly, I'm not really that special, because a lot of people came the same way, So when they see situations like mine, they right away, they talk to me. They send me a message or they send me an email. Hey, Velez, I got this Puerto Rican guy, he's trying really hard, but he's not able to make it. We got him to DLI and he's trying to learn. Can you help him out? So right away, I get in contact with those people and I try to help them out. The one thing is, I would like to help everybody else. I want to help everybody, but unfortunately, due to time, you can only help the people that want to help themselves. So when you realize that they're really not into it, you have to just let it go. That's unfortunate, and it was frustrating to me because I want to help everybody. Right. But you can't force somebody to be helped.
Yeah, you can't force them. They gotta want it for themselves, and maybe they'll come to a point in their lives that that wasn't their miracle at that moment, and they'll find that miracle and come back, and hopefully it'll work out for them. There's just so many questions that I have going in my head. It's just such a great story. How would you say to somebody that is facing adversity, not necessarily like yours, they're not facing necessarily getting out of, a cartel or anything like that? What would you say to someone that might be facing that right now? And you can project something to them that you held onto over and over again to help them out with pushing past that adversity and trying to get through, the success that they're looking for.
The first thing, honestly, like I was saying before, is I will help them out finding their purpose in life. What are their skills? What is that talent that God gave them? How can we use it the benefits of people or the Air Force, whatever it is, so they can feel useful. I think that a person that knows his purpose or her purpose in life will not think about, ending their life or anything like that. If you have a purpose, you will continue living. And the other thing that I just have learned with the time is that everything feels, even the worst case scenario, the worst situation that can happen, will go away eventually. And it's kind of like when you were a kid and you were 16 and you had the love of your life, your girlfriend, and you finished the relationship and you thought that was the love of your life and I will never forget her. You think about it right now, you don't even remember. You're like, oh, yeah. So it's kind of like that. Everything will eventually will go away. It's just about how much you learn from that situation, you apply it for the next one. But know that it will go away. At some point it will go away, and find the positive to the negative. That's the main thing. Yeah. The most important thing, even the worst situations in life have something positive to it.
That's awesome. And then, so we won't go on too much longer, but do you ever find yourself almost reverting back to old ways that were bad habits that were pulling you? Do you find yourself, and then if you do, what do you do in that moment to try to not get yourself there?
Being super real, right now I don't get it that much, but my first 5 years, 6 years, probably even more, I got to it. It was getting me. So when I came to the United States and I started my first assignment and everything like that, my body was here, but my mind stayed in Colombia. Yeah. So I didn't live really. I was in places like Hawaii, and I was really not taking advantage of Hawaii because I was thinking, I want to go back home. I want to go back home. What are my friends doing? What are my people doing? And what happened to me, and I had to learn the hard way, was that so I would wait the entire year and just not really living, and then I would go on vacation to Colombia for 30 days. And I would waste money like I was making the money that I had before. So I got into a lot of debt, so I wasn't really making that, as you guys know, A1C wasn't really making that much money, but I had credit cards. So I still felt like I was that same person before. So I got into a lot of trouble and a lot of debt. I was going to Colombia and say, hey, I got it, I'm the boss, I'll pay for everything like that. So my mentality still had that temptation. I was not doing bad things, but my mind still had that, like, I'm the boss, I'm the leader here, right? I'll pay for everything. And a couple of years later, when I would go back, every time I would go back to the United States, from my trip in Colombia, I started getting the bills. And I started saying, like, oh man, I owe $7,000, I owe, $8,000, how am I going to pay this? Yeah. Because one funny thing is that I was making more money 20 years ago than what I'm making right now, And as an A1C, man, you come with a $10,000 bill, and then we're talking about, that's the thing, almost 20 years ago. So that woke me up, getting in trouble and failing and having to find a way to actually make things better is how I got out of temptation. So yes, temptations are always going to be there, not as bad as it used to be, because now I know my purpose in life. Yeah. But for the first years, it did get me really.
Yeah, I think that's super relatable for all airmen that first come into the military. I know when I first came in, my paycheck was gone as soon as I received it. Living in the dorms was easy to see that paycheck go, where some of us were ghosting or whatever, living with other people while we were living in the dorms. And it's super relatable because we have airmen that, and maybe even some senior, NCOs today that do think of that life that they had before joining the military and want to go back to that because it's just so familiar. And then they unfortunately go back and start doing things that pull them back towards a negative life, or just not helpful for what they're doing in their careers. And so as I became a senior in jail, I will tell you that I started learning not to be so hard on my friends and airmen, because that's how they learn. They learn through the tough times and those hard lessons of now I'm broke. And you don't need to just jump down their throat and be like, be this harsh NCO. We have to let our airmen learn the hard way and then be there for them as soon as they learn their lesson and be like, all right, let's start over, let's pick it up from here. So that's something I'm sure a lot of people can relate with, that you're going through those first 5 years, as you mentioned, of that struggle. Okay, and I would ask, how does your security clearance go? Because I I put one time that I had family in Colombia, and I probably sat there for 2 hours trying to explain how that goes. So I love to pick your brain after this and just see how that goes for you. We don't have to put your, all that in Front Street, but I want to thank you very much for being a part of this. I want to thank everybody that was able to join us. If anybody's curious, he did say that he's available to just speak, his story, because if anybody wants to know more. And feel free to contact us to reach out to him. If you guys want to have him at your unit to be a part of your Storytellers events, if you have him. And again, our information is on Facebook, all our contact information. We also sent it out to our first sergeants, to anybody. So if you want to contact us and have us as part of your group, absolutely find us. And I just want to thank Sergeant Sotelo, our VP, our advisors that were here, helped put this together. And we just look forward to the next event, beginning of January, and we'll see you then. And again, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry.
After I leave on Zoom, I just thank you, sir. I hope you have, thank you for sharing your story, so that you're awesome. And then there's 2 questions from YouTube. One of them you already answered. It was, thanks for sharing your story. What message do you have for young folks who are in your same position now? Like we're in, but you answered that question already, I think, earlier when I started So's question.
The one thing I want to say about that, and it's more about to the leader than it is to the follower. So it's more to that person that has the power to change these people that in my situation. I want to say a message to those guys. Please take the time to learn the story behind the person. Don't judge a person because it looks or acts or sounds a different way. One of the things that happened to me for a long period of time was that for my first year was people were kind of like ignoring me and thinking that I was going to fail and thinking that they were saying comments that I would understand. And they were saying, he's mentally challenged, he's retarded because of the way I was speaking. They just didn't realize that I have been learning English for only a couple of months. So just because I sounded like that, right away they're like, no, it's just he has a mental problem. Don't worry about that. Don't waste your time. And that's what we say. So what I would like to invite you is, it's not a waste of time. Take the time, because there's a lot of potential in those people. They may have challenge, but as a leader, our job, our responsibility is to lead these people to build and to develop leaders, not just give up because they have something that we just don't like. I am not even close to being the role model, the prototype of the United States Air Force. I'm completely different. I don't even speak good English till this day, but I focus on my strengths, and I use my strengths to the Air Force benefit, and that's how I've been able to be successful. But not everybody has to look like the perfect model of what you're looking. Like once again, diversity and inclusion. I'm so grateful that that diversity and inclusion is actually a good topic right now, and is seen as a positive thing. And people like you guys are actually, are helping people out with this. Are letting people know that being different is not a bad thing. It's actually a strength.
And our reality is that everybody's different. If we were all the same, then, it would be a completely different military. So, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Thank you.
You have one more, ma'am?
Yes, the second question was
That was part of the second story. That's basically on the second part of the story. But I'll tell you really short. What happened is that remember that vision that I was telling you about, the vision that the tech sergeant had about me one day returning to Colombia. So that actually happened about 1.5 years ago. June 2019, I was told that I was selected as a PME instructor. That's what I was at that moment. And to go to Colombia and help develop the Senior NCO Academy for the Colombian Air Force. So I saw, oh my God, that was my dream. That was a vision that this guy had. But what happened was that 1 week, about 4 days before I was ready to go, I was excited. I had called my mother and everything like that. She was excited. I was like, I'm going to be there for 6 months. And then what happened is that 3 days before I was ready to go, my mother died. Oh, my mother passed away, and I had to decide if my vision was as important as I said it was. So I was ready to quit. Honestly, the first day I was devastated, destroyed. This was my engine. This was my engine. And people were, calling me and saying, "Oh, I feel bad. I'm sorry for you." That's normally what people do. But you know what? That's not what I needed to hear. And somebody told me what I needed to hear straight up. No anesthesia, no nothing. And this was a person his name was Chief Marquez. Now he's a chief. And he went to my house because I was devastated. I was telling him, "You know what, sir, I'm not able I don't want to go to Colombia." I, I fought for this for almost, at that moment, I was 17 years, 18 years looking for this dream, making this. I could taste it now. It was right there, but I just didn't have the motivation anymore. The engine was dead. My engine was completely dead. Didn't have the fuel anymore. And he went to my house and he told me something that I needed to hear, but I didn't want to hear. And he said, "Okay, so you have to decide. Are you going to keep that promise that you made to your mother, when you left the United States, about making her proud? You have that goal right there. You have your vision. What are you going to do? Are you gonna die just like she did? Are you gonna just basically give up in life? Because what happened with my mother was that she died out of depression. She just didn't have a sense of living anymore. Didn't have a purpose in life. That's why I keep talking about purpose. She lost her purpose in life, so she let herself die. She had everything you can imagine. She had money. She had a place to stay. She didn't have to work. Never worked in her life, but somehow she was depressed. She didn't have a purpose in life. So she stayed in a bed for years, letting herself go away. And one of my biggest things that I do, I like to motivate people. But one of my biggest failures that I'm still working till this day to accept it is that I was never able to motivate the person that I love the most, that I care the most. I was not able to do it with her. So, Chief Marquez told it to me straight up: "Are you going to give up on the promise that you made your mother?" And he told me one thing. Now you got to see it as look for the positive. Like, what is positive about my mother dying? I just couldn't understand it, but I knew at that moment that I had to go. I couldn't quit now. It's been too much work, too many years. I couldn't quit on my dream. So I thought about this. What do you do when if your engine dies, you had two choices. You either park your car and just don't move, or you find yourself another engine. And I started to look for something that would motivate me to actually go there. And right at that moment, my sister was actually pregnant and was about to have a baby. And I saw that as an angel. I was like, that's the gift that my mother is sending me. I'm going to do it for this kid. And I'm ready to do it. I can do it. And I went there, and what motivated me to work, basically, because honestly, like I said, I was very, I didn't have fuel, and my energy was kind of like, didn't have energy at that moment, was knowing this, that I didn't have to call my mother anymore to tell her the accomplishments. So like, "Mom, I was able to talk to this military members or to this police force," or, because that makes me feel so proud. But I didn't have to do that anymore, because guess what? Every time I would do a presentation or a class, she would be right there with me. And she's the one that was guiding me through the speech or through the conversation. So now I don't have to call her. She's with me at all times. And that's what really keeps me going. I don't know. I'm sorry if I probably went from the question, but
No, that's, wow.
We had, I believe, on both Facebook, Zoom, and YouTube. There's a lot of thank yous and everything else in here for us.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll
thank you.
definitely have to set that up, for
Appreciate it.
sure.
Thank you for the
We'll look at it.
opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
And if I may, real quick,
Yes.
before we sign out, Velez, that's an amazing and powerful story, sir. And literally, I almost teared up. I'm still tearing up. That's awesome that you're willing to put your story out there and show not only how far you've come, but that we all face adversity in life. Regardless of how small or how big that adversity is. Like you said, you got two choices: either park that car or put it in drive. And that's awesome to hear your story, and that you're willing to share it and make it better. Everyone watching online. And so literally got these this morning. The first JBSA first sergeant appointment that we've had in 5 years that I've been first sergeant here. Something came up at work and I wasn't gonna make it, and something told me that, no, you need to be there. You need to be there today. And so, I just want to thank you for sharing your story. And I know this is a small token, but just want to appreciate me and all the first sergeants that ever been watching online for sharing this.
Oh, thank you, sir, for the opportunity.
And thank you for everybody joining us, and we would love to see you guys join us, and please promote us, send us out there, and just share the fact that we exist.